My £2,000 Range Rover's gearbox just broke, and now I need to save money to get it repaired. My daily driver is this 2010 Jaguar XF V6 Diesel, and fortunately it gets 51 miles to the gallon. Or does it? In this video, I want to find out if that's actually realistic.
See, when researching a car, you're always greeted with three statistics when it comes to fuel economy: urban, extra urban, and average or combined. The extra urban figure is always the highest because the sample is created from a mixture of driving on faster A roads, best for fuel economy, and in towns, which isn't as good. Now, in the case of my Jaguar XF with the detuned 3-litre diesel V6 engine, supposedly I should be able to achieve 51.3 miles per gallon. But is that actually possible?
So today I want to see what fuel economy I can actually achieve from my car and to see if it's anywhere near that quoted figure. I'll fill up the car at the start and the end of the test so that we know exactly how much fuel the car has used, and also from that I can find out how accurate the trip computer that I rely on is. So just before we pull into the fuel station, comment below now whether you think we'll get anywhere near that quoted 51 mpg. Right, so I don't think the car's going to take an awful lot because it's basically full already. We're just using basic supermarket diesel. We'll just go to 1 click. There it is, and it seems to be literally pouring out. Okay, well that is now full. 7 litres. Now, the extra urban figure that you will see quoted is always calculated in a specific way. It's done over a route of only 4.3 miles at an average speed of 39 miles per hour. So that includes accelerating up to 75, decelerating, idling, all the rest of it. So I'm going to do the same sort of thing for my test. We've got a bit of dual carriageway at 70, a bit of it at 60, some mixed roads, some idling out of this industrial estate, and then coming back here. And it's going to be around 16 miles. And yeah, we should be back here in about half an hour's time. So it's the same sort of test as the urban cycle or the extra urban cycle, but just a little bit longer. So I've got the car set up so the trip automatically resets every time I get in the car. So the figure you see in front of you is going to be the figure for this journey. Then obviously what we'll do is we'll come back here, use exactly the same pump if we can, pump number 18, go to 1 click, we'll see how many litres of fuel the car's used, and then we'll be able to calculate exactly the miles per gallon. So yeah, this is going to be really interesting. So let's switch the car on, pop it into drive, and away we go. This is such a wonderful car to drive, and the air conditioning is ice cold, which is nice today as it's touching 20 Celsius for the first time this year. So this car actually has a relatively big fuel tank at around 64 litres. What's that in real money? I'm thinking out loud. It's about 15 gallons, just under perhaps. So theoretically, with that extra urban 51 mpg quoted figure, if you have 14.5, 15 gallons, that would give you a theoretical range of around 750 miles, which would be fantastic. But I, obviously being me, want to see if I can exceed that. So anyway, I should mention, I'm driving just normally, I'm in automatic, I've got the air conditioning on. I'm not doing anything fancy here to try and eke out as much fuel economy as possible, but I am driving particularly gently if I can, and obviously I'm going to make sure not to put myself in any situations where I have to unnecessarily brake. So the very first bit, we're accelerating up here to 70 miles an hour. I'll go to 75 indicated. This car's speedo overreads quite a lot actually. So you've got about 2 miles at 70 miles per hour, then it reduces down to 60. Then we turn off, do a little bit more hill driving, lower speeds, perhaps a bit of traffic, and then we'll basically come back and do the same thing the other way. There we go. So I've set cruise control at an indicated 72 miles per hour, and we'll try and maintain this until we need to decelerate to 60. Now, there is actually a point to this, other than it being an interesting video topic, I thought. There is a reason I'm doing this. Now, I've mentioned before, but I am going to get this car remapped. And one of the reasons for remapping this car is not only to eke out the extra power that I know that this engine is offered in the S variant, but actually it's supposed to improve fuel economy a little bit. So I will redo this test whether or not on a video or just for myself once the car has been remapped to see if indeed it does make any difference. I have also ordered a fresh set of tyres for this car, which I do also expect to potentially improve the fuel economy as well, but more on that in another video. So as we maintain 72 miles per hour up this slight incline, we are actually losing on our average fuel, which currently sits at 27.8, but I'm about to hit this cancel button as the speed has just been reduced to 60. So let's set the cruise control to 62, see if we can move over to lane 1. No, we can't, because this guy wants to sit in my blind spot. I also know that by not using cruise control, I could probably also eke out a little bit more economy, but again, I just want to do it in quite a measured way. So when I come to test this again, I can use the cruise control and the car should behave very similarly to this time. I do always find though, people moan about certain cars not achieving anywhere near the right level of fuel economy, but it is so dependent on how you drive. And I've seen a lot of electric car owners, some that I know, some that I don't, but I've seen them moaning about the range of their electric cars, but they proceed to accelerate, then brake, then accelerate, then brake, then accelerate, then brake unnecessarily. And I just think, well, obviously you're going to be ruining the potential range by driving like that. So we're 4.9 miles in now, and we've averaged 33.3 mpg, and that is going up as we're sat at 60. The car obviously quite likes to be at this sort of speed. It's going up to 34 mpg now, and our average speed over 50 miles an hour. So remember that urban cycle is normally an average of 39 over a distance even less than this, 4.3 miles. So I just think, yeah, getting 51 mpg out of that I think would have been pretty difficult. Anyway, we're turning off on this junction, so I'm just going to cancel the cruise control so that I don't need to waste any time braking. We can basically just coast to this left-hander. I'll only need to brake at the very last minute here, just so that we don't go straight through that sign. We'll try and carry as much speed as we can around this corner as well. Okay, lovely stuff. I think the best thing that anyone can do for getting better fuel economy though is just leave space between you and the car in front. Whilst we're about halfway into our experiment, if you guys are Jaguar XF owners, I'd love to hear what fuel economy you get, sort of as an average. I mean, I can tell you now that my average is around, if I click trip A actually, 32 mpg. So that is sort of what I get over a long period of time. Let me know what it is that you experience from your XF, or whatever car it is you drive for that matter. I know that diesel engines have been scrutinised and are penalised, should I say, really, by our government in the UK. Obviously, this car's not ULEZ compliant. If you live around London, it's probably not very LEZ compliant in most cities. Most cars that are diesel, that are not Euro 6, will be taxed in some way for driving in these areas, which is generally 2015 onwards. So this car doesn't fall into that category. But my point being, I just think these engines are wonderful. I'm always a petrol head at heart. Most of my cars are petrol. In fact, this is my only diesel car. I'm just going to go for it. Here we go. But I do think it's remarkable that you can, we're about to find out how much exactly, but you can get really great fuel economy from a car like this that is so powerful. I mean, this will still do 0 to 60 in under 7 seconds, and it does pin you to the back of your seat, especially once I've had the remap. I'm sure it'll be even more so. But I just think these engines are wonderfully efficient actually, and just really, really clever. So it is just a shame that they're not quite clean enough for the people that run the country. But you know, times may change again. I think even modern day diesels that I've experienced in the newest of Range Rovers are really impressive things. And this is great here. I'm actually going to use the paddles to manually put us into 5th there. It was holding 4th as we're just coasting down this hill, which is very good. Almost up to 40 mpg now. And then we've got to accelerate back up the hill onto another dual carriageway. So I don't know, at this point, guys, I don't think we're going to get that 51 mpg, you know. Going up here, which is a little bit more of a country lane, so won't be using cruise control up here. I'm just using the paddles actually where I can to just keep those revs lower. See, this has been a real mix of drive. Country roads, stopping, bit of traffic, and we've got some more dual carriageway up ahead. I have to say though, I'm intrigued to actually see what the fuel pump tells you when we fill this up again in a minute, how close this average fuel is versus our actual fuel consumption. Because I do tend to put a lot of trust in these average fuel consumption indicators in the car, but I know that they're probably not as accurate as I give them credence for. See, this is bad now. We're coming back uphill. It's a 60-mile-an-hour road, so I'm trying to accelerate accordingly, but gosh, that's eating into our fuel. 36 mpg. I did think we'd be a bit higher than that. So we've got a giveaway here, which we have to stop for, which isn't ideal. Okay, looks clear on the right, nothing comes from the left, so we're good to go. And then we have another stop before the last part of this journey actually being mostly, I think it's mostly downhill and mostly at 60 miles per hour. In fact, it's almost entirely at 60 miles per hour, which we know is a speed this car likes to sit at. All right, let's go. Bit of stoppage there. So this is our last real acceleration moment, up to 40 miles an hour initially. I'm not doing it as gingerly as I could do. I'm going at a relatively decent pace, and it's going up to 50, so we'll just continue accelerating here, up to 50 miles per hour. Okay, and then we'll use the cruise control again. So I think at this point, average fuel will start going up. As 49.50. I do find this sort of thing really exciting. I love numbers. I'm a bit of a geek, so I do find this fascinating. Interestingly enough, our average speed is at 40 mph now, which is, what's the average speed of the urban cycle? Normally 39, so we're not far off, although we're going to be going a bit quicker now. Right, I think the speed goes up to 60 in a minute. Yes, it does. So what we'll do is get across into lane 1 and slowly accelerate now up to 60, where we shall remain for quite a few miles, 3 or 4 miles I think. Then we turn off and we're back at the petrol station. So yeah, interesting, we're at 34.8 indicated. This is not as high as I thought it would be actually, and we are a long way off the 51.3 that this car quotes for its urban cycle. Either there's something catastrophically wrong with this car, or the trip computer is way off, or that urban cycle figure is just far-fetched. I should reference that I do generally, so basically my rule with this car is every other tank of fuel I do super diesel, just because I like to. So obviously I'm running on, this tank I'm on now is just a basic normal tank of fuel. So I don't know, maybe that's another experiment for the future as to whether using super diesel will get me any more MPGs, but I'd imagine it's fairly negligible. It's certainly not going to make up the 14 deficit that I currently have. I have also used an injector cleaner on this car, a Red X. I've done a couple tanks of that stuff as well to try and clean it out a little bit. So I think I've done a fairly, given the car a good chance of getting good fuel economy. Tyres are budget tyres, or they're mid-range tyres. They're a few years old, but they are also pumped up to pressure as well. So there's nothing really that I can see wrong with this car that should mean we get a far lower MPG figure than what's quoted. Okay, well this is good right now. We're downhill at 60 miles an hour. Nothing up ahead to slow us down. We're just about to cross over 40 miles per gallon. There it is. This is the highest it's been this whole test, and we're almost 14 miles in, which means we've just got about a couple miles to go. But yeah, this is a really good downhill stretch actually. 6th gear, about 1300 RPM, 60 miles per hour, 41.2, 41.3. It is going up. But at the moment, yeah, 42.4 miles per gallon. So if you multiplied that by 14 or 15, that would be a range of around 650 miles, which isn't an insignificant distance, is it? So we've got about a mile until the big roundabout where we have to, hopefully not, but we might have to stop. So I've got to time the deceleration correctly here. Got quite a lot of faster traffic approaching behind me, who I don't want to pull out on, but I also don't want to have to accelerate or brake needlessly, so it's going to be a bit tricky. All right, here we go. To keep things fair, I'm going to hit cancel when we go past the reduce speed now sign. There we go, 42.7 mpg. Now we get to decel from 60 miles per hour hopefully without having to hit the brakes, but I think we might have to, unfortunately. 43.2, yeah, we're stopping. Darn it. Oh, that's a bummer. 43.4, and we're gonna have to stop for a bit. Come on guys, go, 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 there's nothing coming. There's nothing coming, go! And now it's just this sort of driving for the last little bit. So my dreams of seeing a number beginning with 5, I don't think that's gonna happen, but I do wonder if on a longer run at 60 to 70 miles an hour, I could achieve it. In fact, I did do a journey around the M25, which was at 60 or 70 miles an hour, and I did see 49 miles per gallon. So I think it is possible, but I don't think it's quite as achievable as the figures on Auto Trader or wherever it is you might buy your cars seem to portray. This is bad, we're just sat at a red light now and I'm watching the average fuel just slowly disappear. 43.2, 43.1. Come on, let's go. 43. Damn it. 42.9. This is it. So we're at 42.5. There's the petrol station. And we'll just coast over now to this final roundabout and roll in if we can. So 16.8, utterly effortless miles, I have to say. Such a lovely car to drive. In the Jag. And now we're rolling back into the fuel station, and I am just going to wait for the same pump that we used behind this Nissan Qashqai. So as we roll in, 42.6, 16.9 miles, an average of 43.3. So let's fill the car back up. I'll tell you how many litres it is in a second, and then we can work out exactly what MPG we have achieved. Right everyone, so I've just pulled in after filling the car up, and we've got a bit of maths to do. So the car only took, actually I didn't really think about this, but it only took 1.23 litres. So I think I first need to work out what that is as a percentage of a gallon. So a UK gallon is, I think it's 4.54, let me just check. 4.54609 litres is 1 gallon. So if I find out what 1.23 litres is as a gallon, okay, we use 1.23 litres of diesel, that is 0.270562175 gallons, UK gallons that is. There are differences between the US and the British gallon. Then the car tells me that we covered 16.9 miles. So in that distance we used 0.27 gallons, almost a quarter, just a bit more than a quarter of a gallon. So this is actually going to be very interesting. We can do 16.9 miles divided by 0.27 equals 62.6 miles per gallon. Okay, this is fascinating. So based on the car, we used 42.5 miles per gallon. According to the fuel pump, so we went click, drove, came back, click, we averaged 62.6 miles per gallon. Now that is a huge discrepancy. Now the problem with that is the two data points are so far apart that actually I don't know if I can trust either of them. So I think the best thing we can probably do in this instance is average them out. So if we take the 62.6 and add it to the 42.5 that the car told me we got, divide it by 2, that's really interesting. We get an average of 52.5 miles per gallon, which is almost exactly, was it the 51.9 extra urban cycle that's quoted? Wow. Okay, so listen, what I would imagine has happened is, because it was such a small amount of fuel that we actually used, it probably clicked at a slightly different point. I don't know. I reckon the computer is slightly more accurate than the fuel pump. What I'll need to do next time is do a longer distance, and then I think it would probably be more accurate, but it's hard to say, isn't it? But if we average the two data points out, we get 52 mpg, which is exactly what the Urban quoted me. Let me know your thoughts on that. Have I just got the maths completely wrong? I probably should have done a longer journey, although I was trying to sort of do what they do in the test. Potentially, the average fuel consumption that I get in here, my trip computer, is completely inaccurate, but in a good way. So I don't really know what to say to that. So based on my average data point of 52.55 miles per gallon, this tank is 64 litres, which is 14.07 gallons. So if we were to take 52.55, right, and times it by 14.07, that would give us a range of 739 miles. So theoretically, this car could do 739 miles. Now, if you like this video and it gets 2,500 likes, I'll attempt that. I'll see if I can get 739 miles from this car, and we'll know then once and for all. So let me know if you've enjoyed this experiment style video. This has been very interesting, but I would say the results are inconclusive. I'll need to do another test over a few more miles. In fact, what I'll do is I will test this fuel tank and report back to you. Thank you all so much for watching. Let's see if we can get 2,500 likes, and then, do you know what? I will try and attempt 740 miles on a tank. We'll see where that could take us. I'll see you all in the next video very, very soon. For God's sake. Hell. Let's assume instead of doing 16.9 miles, we covered 169 miles. Oh, I can't work this out. No.